there we go. When there is public comment, appropriate, as there will be at some points tonight, public is invited to ask questions or raise concerns. Just indicate by raising your hand physically or digitally using the controls in Zoom, and I'll recognize you. When you're recognized, please give us your name and address or affiliation, and try to limit your questions or comments to 2 minutes. Let's see what else. We have a chat function on board with Zoom, but it does not become part of the public record. So please reserve it for technical questions, not for substantive questions about what we're core comments. And finally, we'll conduct all of our votes by roll call tonight. So let me begin by calling the roll of commissioners and staff. Mr. David Lumsden.
Present.
Mr. Jim Hoffman. Dr. Henry Ottinger.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Dr. Gordon Turner.
Here.
And I am Steve Gang, chair. So we have a quorum of 6. Our 7th member is unfortunately in the hospital tonight, and we wish him well. Let's see, any announcements from the team before we plunge in? We introduce Bethany Barstow, our conservation administrator. And I don't see Mark Resnick, our director of land management, or our new clerk.
He's on vacation till Monday.
Yes.
Okay. And I encourage all the commission members to drop in and say hello to the new clerk of land.
Yes.
Oh, what is her name, Steve?
Kendall.
Kendall?
Yes.
Mhm.
And what's her last name?
Question.
Jurtas? I don't know how to pronounce it.
You should ask her,
Jurtas.
Olga.
Yes.
Mhm.
When you stop by.
Yeah.
Then I'll
exactly.
figure it out.
You got it. Okay, so let's begin. The first item on our agenda is to convene the public hearing and to look at notices of intent. We have a continued notice of intent from 44 Norwood Avenue, DEP number 39-937, map 50, lot 21, applicant Nicholas Stengel. And I understand the applicant has asked this be continued to our next meeting, which is November.
Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, November 12th, because it's a holiday Tuesday.
Right. Can't have it on election day, can't have it on Veterans Day. So Wednesday, November 12th is our next meeting.
Yeah.
May I hear a motion?
I move that we continue the notice of intent for 44 Norwood Ave to November 12th.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor, David?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye, so unanimous. Thank you. The second notice of intent is from the Manchester Harbor Entrance Channel and Proctor Cove. Actually, it's from the town of Manchester by the Sea, pertaining to the Harbor Entrance Channel and Proctor Cove. DEP file 39-940. No map reference because it's water. This is for proposed maintenance dredging, and who's here tonight? Nate, is that are you going to speak or introduce?
Yep, introduce. So we have Bayan on the call as well, and then we have the team from Foth Infrastructure. We have Jessica Heath, Fiona Vardy, and Jimmy Hill. So the main purpose of this project is to do maintenance dredging on the entrance channel and Proctor Cove to restore navigational safety. All the dredging is going to be within existing and approved authorized limits. And we're not, improving any other areas. So I'm not sure. Jessica, are you gonna do the rest of this?
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna share my screen.
Let me just make sure you have
I
that
allowed.
ability. Oh, good. All done. Thank you, Bethany.
All right. Share. Okay. Can you see the Google Earth image?
Yes.
Can, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, as Nate mentioned, my name's Jessica Heath. I'm the project manager here at both Infrastructure and Environment. So I'm here on behalf of the town of Manchester by the Sea to present on the Manchester Harbor Inner and Outer Entrance Channel and Proctor Cove Maintenance Dredging Project. The DEP file number is 39-940, as previously mentioned. So to give you an overview of the project location, the entrance channel comes through here, and then we have Proctor Cove in here, and then that's where we'll be dredging or proposing to be dredging, and then we have the disposal site, Massachusetts Bay disposal site, is offshore about 12 miles from the project area. So I'll pull up the plans. So as I mentioned, we have the outer entrance channel, which runs through here, and then the inner entrance channel, and then we have Proctor Cove right here, referred to as areas A, B, and C. So the main goal of this project is to restore safe navigation and vessel access in the Manchester Harbor and Proctor Cove, because shoaling has reduced depths, creating a navigational hazard for vessels in the area. And as Nate mentioned, we're proposing maintenance dredging only. So all of the dredging the areas have been previously dredged to the proposed depth. So no improvement dredging is being proposed. I will show the cross section here of the proposed channel. So the entrance channel is 100-foot wide. And originally this project was in mean low water. So that's why we have these 0.33 feet. It's the conversion from mean low water to mean low water. But anyway, we are proposing to dredge the entrance channel, both inner and outer, to negative 10.33 feet mean low water, plus 1 foot allowable over depth to a maximum depth of negative 11.33 feet mean low water. And then for Proctor Cove, we are proposing to dredge to negative 7.33 feet mean low water. And same thing there, 1 foot allowable over depth to a maximum dredge depth of negative 8.33 feet mean low water. So that comes out to a total of just under 53,000 cubic yards of material to be dredged. And broken down, the outer entrance channel has 18,570 cubic yards, just over 6,100 for the inner entrance channel, and then a little more than 28,000 cubic yards for Proctor Cove, the mooring basin. And the material to be dredged is comprised mainly of medium to fine sands and fine grain organic marine silt and clay. As far as dredging and disposal operations goes, we're proposing mechanical dredging with the barge mounted crane or excavator, and it'll be transported to that offshore disposal site that I showed earlier on Massachusetts Bay. And we did receive a suitability determination approving this disposal earlier this year in April. So moving into coastal resource areas and performance standards, we'll have some temporary impacts to a few coastal resource areas.
Can you go back one second to your map? So, just so we understand exactly what we're looking at, the light green versus the little hash marks, is the hash marks the dredging area, not just the channel, but
I'm gonna get into that, but the green is eelgrass. The channel is what we have highlighted in gray, and it's encompassed by the black border. So this is the channel width right here. And then all the stuff that's highlighted in gray is where the dredging is anticipated, since that's where it's shallower than the proposed
okay,
dredge
so
depth.
the small hash marks going perpendicular to the channel, if you go out to the, yes,
Right here.
where you're showing depth marks, like those little small numbers there.
Yeah, these are the existing depths.
Okay,
But the
so-
channel is this from the black lines.
That's what's being dredged, not
Yes.
further. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. And then same thing in here. Yeah, this 100-foot width channel, and it goes all the way up to right here, which is right by Norton's Point, and then Proctor Cove is encompassed here.
So the dark shade is the dredging portion.
Yep.
And the white within the cove there is not dredged because it's already deep enough.
Yeah, it's showing from our latest survey, it's showing deep enough, so we're
All
not.
right. Very helpful, thanks.
Yeah. All right. So coastal resource areas, we have some temporary impacts to land under ocean. So it's just over 485,000 square feet. And then coastal beaches, just under 20,000 square feet. So all impacts within the coastal beach are anticipated to occur within the intertidal zone between mean low water and mean high water. So the intertidal dredging is only proposed in small parts of Proctor Cove and the outer entrance channel on the side slopes. And it's needed to address the sediment infill over time to maintain safe navigation and public access. And these temporary impacts should not compromise storm damage protection or flood control. And the dredging will increase flood storage while wave action, erosion, and shoreline stability will remain unchanged. And then for land containing shellfish, we have a little over 143,000 square feet temporarily impacted. So the performance standards for each of these resource areas will be met by dredging during the time of year restrictions when the biological activity is least active. We'll use best management practices, such as the use of an environmental bucket on the dredge or turbidity curtain as needed to minimize turbidity and sediment resuspension. And as we've mentioned before, we're limiting the dredging to previously authorized footprints and depths. And overall, the dredging will enhance long-term water quality and circulation. In the short term, turbidity increases are expected, but they'll be temporary. And in the long term, the dredging will reduce turbidity by preventing vessel groundings and prop wash or scouring. And then for the eelgrass, in this legend, you can see that we did 2 eelgrass surveys, one in 2020 and then one 4 years later in 2024 last year. So that's what the green areas are, depicting this bright green border is the survey from 2020. And from 2024, you can see the amount of eelgrass has grown in the area. So the project will temporarily impact about 4.5 acres of eelgrass, primarily out here in the outer entrance channel. We have some sparse eel beds in the inner entrance channel in Proctor Cove, which are marked by these green hatches, and the isolated eelgrass is marked by the small green dots in there. But to minimize impacts, we're gonna be conducting dredging outside of the peak growth season for eelgrass, which is July through August, and we use best management practices to reduce turbidity, as mentioned before, will help protect the eelgrass beds just outside of the dredge footprint. We expect that natural recolonization will occur based on what we observed between the eelgrass expansion between 2020 and 2024. And additionally, after the dredging event in 2001 in the area, we saw a successful regrowth after that event as well. So we are expecting that the same thing will happen this go around. And if it's required by the Army Corps and Mass DEP, we'll conduct the post-dredge monitoring and may participate in the Massachusetts in lieu fee program, which supports restoration efforts in the watershed if the natural recovery isn't sufficient.
Jessica, excuse me, I didn't quite get that. I understand that the darker green line to the lighter green line represents an expansion of eelgrass habitat.
Yes.
How did you tie that to the last time that that channel was dredged?
So it's not shown in here, but last time it was dredged in 2001, there was post-dredge monitoring for several years afterwards, and there was regrowth back to pre-dredging conditions noticed after that.
Okay, but you can't say that the regrowth that you're seeing between 19 and 23 has anything to do with post-dredging conditions, right?
No, just it's a,
Thank you.
yeah, just making an argument that it's a good environment for eelgrass growth.
It could in fact be the opposite. Could have been encouraged by siltation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did, but it was seen in 2000 after 2001 that it did regrow. So we're hoping for the same thing, but definitely monitoring is, we're anticipating that's going to be required by the Army Corps. As far as schedule, we're planned for October 2026, and then completing early January 2027. With work occurring 24 hours a day, weather permitting, just to be as efficient and quick as possible. And then for permitting, we have our Army Corps individual permit in and under review. We have a interagency pre-filing meeting with MEPA tomorrow, and we'll be submitting our expanded ENF to MEPA following that meeting. And then the planning board requested a special permit application, so we will be submitting that probably this week, and then we will be submitting Chapter 91 and 401 water quality certification applications to Mass DEP as well. That's about all I have on the maintenance dredging project, but happy to answer any more questions.
Thank you, Jessica. That was helpful. Are there other questions, concerns from the commission?
I have a question about, so you guys have tested some of the soils, and was that a similar testing done the last time it was dredged?
Yeah, it should have been the same testing.
There
Yeah,
were
as far as I know.
a couple on your bulk sediment chemistry results, there were a couple problem areas, that you highlight on table 4, page 7, and I'm just curious if they were, is it the same spots? Is it something that whether those areas, was it ever considered that the sediments coming out of those areas were not transported to the open water for disposal, but targeted for maybe on land disposal, so that the site was I think it's labeled D01.65. I don't know if that's,
Jimmy, do you know the answer to that? I wasn't here during the sediment
Sure,
sampling portion.
maybe I can help for the record. Jimmy Hill with both Infrastructure and Environment. So between the sampling in 2001 and then the more recent sampling, I don't know if there's ever any correlation made of any particular sample location that it was contaminated the same both times. We weren't even really looking for that either. But with all the the spikes in contamination were really low and low enough to the point where they could dispose offshore. Massachusetts Bay disposal requires you to do this biological testing, regardless of how clean or silty or sandy your material is. So I guess maybe to summarize that, within the areas tested, we didn't make any correlation between prior testing as part of this project.
so, okay, you're not looking at the prior, but if you've got a problem area now, these areas you've highlighted, which, maybe the state's allowing you to dispose of the soil, or the materials based on the pre-sampling. There's nothing that, I mean, you could potentially have an issue during the course of this where they say, hey, you just went over some level. We don't want you hauling that out to the open sea anymore. I mean, it's not really easy to discern. They say in combination, out of all your soils, this looks okay. I forget their exact wording, but it seems like if you took the toughest area, you could consider, removing that and putting it elsewhere instead of, dumping it out by Stellwagen. I mean, some of the things you're looking at are heavy metals and kind of problem residues. So
Understood.
I just don't know where on the map, some of these problem sites are, how easy it would be to take 3 truckloads and dispose of it in a different way and not have it all go out into open water. I just think that should be considered just as a precaution, so you don't get hung up in the middle of the project with someone saying, we can no longer accept this material out in open water.
Well, I can answer that. So the material is, will be accepted. We've done all of the required testing, and the testing is passed for this entire project, one maintenance dredging cycle to go offshore. So you would have to test the material if you're going to do another round of maintenance dredging, but there's nothing, in between now and this material going offshore. They've determined that it will mix with the water column in a way that, it will be low impact to the creatures out there and to the disposal site. So there's nothing that's saying in the middle of this project that they could decide to, retest. I think that's a really rare occurrence.
Okay. Thanks.
Just to follow up on Jim's excellent question, can you tell us where the site D0-1.65 with the extraordinarily high levels of HBAH?
Yeah, let me pull up the map.
Thank you.
All right, it's right in this corner of Proctor Cove, D. That the 0 to, I don't remember what the number was, but that's the depth. But yeah, this is.
So that location lends itself to, putting that in a dump truck and disposing it in a different way, rather than having it, go out to sea. It would just be nice for that to be considered as I have no idea where those levels, they're highlighted for our benefit, but I don't know whether they are they would move the dial if you took, 4 truckloads of that stuff away, and it might be a higher expense to move it, but be the right thing to do.
It may be the right thing to do, but it also, it may not as well. Taking something upland and, it's still going somewhere. I think that, I don't know, not really sure what that looks like to separate out in a project like this. I think the efficiencies in removing that with mechanical dredge and sending it offshore, cost wise, is very cost effective. So if that was something that the town would like to pursue, then I think that's a town call.
Yeah, I mean, I think bringing and disposing onshore could get very, very cost prohibitive. If you were having to go to an out-of-state landfill, that's like what, $300 a ton along those lines. So it's I don't think we're talking about 4 truckloads when you're looking at an area. You're gonna, beyond just having intermediate testing to determine, where you're, delineate where you're pulling in soils to dispose of on land, so that's going to add to kind of timeline, engineers' costs, contractors' costs, and then, it'd just be very hard to budget the project to dispose of on land when we already have an approved site offshore.
Yeah.
Understood. I guess the underlying question is there any public safety hazard? There's a town launch there, it's rarely used in my opinion, but it allows access for people who want to walk that little corner of Proctor Cove, walk on the beach, high tide or low tide. Are these levels in any way hazardous for when they're exposed at low tide?
I don't think so, but
I think that might be a potential different, testing procedure too. This is testing for, biological hazards to shrimp and mussels and whatnot they have offshore.
Okay, well, I guess we'll reserve that question because it wasn't really the purpose of your applying standards to those numbers. It's just they're so or so many orders of magnitude larger than the other test sites. Henry, your hand is up. Still here?
Yep. Thanks, Steve. I wanted to make sure, are we kind of done with soils? Because I want to move back to eelgrass for a quick minute.
Yeah,
David, did you have more on soils?
I'm done.
Okay, fire away, Henry.
So just one comment and then a question. And my comment is, I appreciate all of the monitoring, the pre and the post monitoring work that's going to be done for our eelgrass beds. It looks awesome. I was a little disappointed in the passive eelgrass recovery, and I will probably request our commission condition some active eelgrass recovery after the project. So that includes either seeding or transplantation. And I noticed that Phil Colarusso is with us, which is fantastic. He's helped in the past with some seeding projects, and potentially we can do that again, but I will be requesting that. My question is actually about the Mass in lieu fee program. And I've heard of this in the past, but it's unclear to me whether Manchester has ever participated in that, meaning has Manchester ever paid into that fund? Do you know, Jessica, or does Bion know, or does anybody know, or does Nate know?
oh, Bion, do you know?
So it was discussed for the 2017-18 dredging project. We did not the town did not end up having to participate in the in lieu to pay for that. I think that will be up to the Corps. If I'm not mistaken, the Corps will decide whether or not we have to participate in that program. I think that's their determination.
Yeah, that's correct.
I know, and Phil can speak to this as well as anybody, so I won't go very far, but our eelgrass has been harvested to try to restart historical beds in other communities. And I'm wondering if reseeding is going to be part of the requirement, given the fact that our meadow regrows so well on its own, whether or not it might be beneficial to see whether or not those seeds might be more effective in a place that's trying to reestablish. Just a thought to get another place going that needs a lift when we have a place that does a lot of really good lifting.
I had exactly the same thought, Brian, and the place I was thinking of was Proctor Cove. Is that a suitable environment for re-establishing new beds?
If I'm not mistaken, that corner over there was historically had eelgrass over in the corner. I'm not right. I'm not sure if the material is appropriate. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay.
And I was actually thinking of other communities as well, like Essex. I know they had an effort to reseed.
David, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. First of all, I wanted to say this is amazingly thorough study and presentation. I'm very impressed with this. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
But one of my questions was, looking back on the history of dredging, it looks like about every 15 years we do a major dredging, going back in time, thanks to your history. So I would like to know, if you know, is this common in most harbors? And do you think Sawmill Brook may be the cause for a lot of the tremendous amount of cubic yards that are proposed to be removed? Where does all this fill come from every 15 years?
So as far as other areas, yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on where the area is and how quickly it shoals in. But yeah, we've seen every 15 years, quicker than that, or sometimes longer than that. It really just depends on the area. As far as Sawbrook Hill, is that what you're asking about for?
Sawmill Brook, the creek, because this is pretty far into the harbor, and I'm thinking that's a lot of sediment to be removed. Where does all that sediment come from?
Yeah,
if
it's
it's
possible.
Sawmill Brook, where would it be coming from?
I can share. I have a picture somewhere, if it hasn't been lost with the new computer in my office, of a massive plume coming out of the marsh over by Masconomo after a rain event. Remembering that the harbor once upon a time all looked like the marsh at low tide, except for the creek running up the middle. So I think it probably does come from those four tributaries into the harbor for that part. The outer part out by Glass Head, that appears to be more tidal and storm driven. It's a different material. I believe it's more sandy, and the inner harbor is more the organic material that's coming down from upstream. That's just an observation.
Thank you.
Certainly having lived on the Inner Harbor for some time, it's very often the color of tea. At least the first few feet of depth, and
Hmm.
that clearly coming from Sawmill Brook, which
Well-
actually drains a very large, for our part of the world, a very large watershed.
Mhm.
And we're kind of looking at the sediment that's in the channel. And of course, the channel is going to capture things that move around. If you just think of sand on the beach, it moves from one side to the other side. It's not necessarily more sand. So it makes sense that it would get kind of trapped into the low points.
Yeah, that makes sense with the tides.
Yeah.
Questions from the commission? How about the public? Questions or comments on?
Yeah,
Phil?
someone, Phil has a comment.
Yep. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to attend. Hi, Brian. Hi, Henry. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Phil.
For the people who don't know me, I work on eelgrass issues, have been working on them for over 36 years. I've done everything you can possibly do with eelgrass at one time or another, including in this system. I have a number of questions related to the dredging and the eelgrass in particular. First, I guess maybe Jessica can answer a couple of these. Jessica, you talked about areas that already meet the authorized or the target depths. Are you excluding them, or are there areas that are meeting the target depth and that you're proposing to the 1 foot over dredge to dredge those areas anyway?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question. What, could you repeat it?
Well, so you talked about the target depth being 10 feet, 10.33 feet in the channel.
Yep.
With an allowable 1 extra foot for overdredge.
Hmm.
So frequently the Corps of Engineers, even if a section of the channel is meeting that or is at the 10.33, they would still dredge the extra 1 foot of overdredge. So I'm asking you if that is what is proposed here, or if areas that are at the 10.33 or in Proctor Cove 7 feet are being excluded.
No, it's to the maximum depth. So to the 8.33 or 11.33 with the overdredge.
Okay. So in if I was on the commission, one way to minimize impacts to resources here is to ask that areas that already meet the 10.33 be excluded from dredging. So that would minimize impacts and reduce the cost. So that's for you guys to decide. I'll bring this up tomorrow at the meeting with MIPA as well. Could you also let me know what the current slope is of the channel?
Yeah, we have a 3-to-1 slope is what we're
I know that's what's
proposing.
proposed. I'm asking what is the current slope? Because 3-to-1 doesn't exist in nature in most places. And so I would absolutely ask for a post-construction survey, because it's quite possible you'll get slumping of those side slopes.
Yeah.
And the actual impact to eelgrass will be greater than just what's dredged in the channel. It will extend further.
Yeah, understood. I would have to look into the data to see the existing slopes, but it's likely a little more gradual than that.
Yeah. Per the in lieu fee program, in lieu fee program originally was intended for small projects where it was not economical or practical for people to do their own mitigation. And that made some sense. You could bring multiple small pots of money together to do restoration in some location. The problem with in-lieu fee is for Manchester, there's no guarantee that any of those funds will ever make its way back to Manchester. And you will not necessarily see, you'll incur the impacts, but you won't see the fruits of the mitigation. And so I agree with Henry's point that if I was a resident of Manchester or on the commission, I would ask for maybe some combination of on-site mitigation and maybe a small contribution to the in-lieu fee program. And just to give you some context on eelgrass, so since 1995, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has lost 50% of its eelgrass. That's over 19,000 acres. And you all mentioned, and I agree with you, that eelgrass is doing well in Manchester, especially when you compare it to other locations. And I think a large part of that is because it's open coastal, it's well flushed, water quality is good. And these areas tend to be the last bastions of where this particular species is doing well. And so in my mind, that's one of the areas, or those are the areas we really need to be careful with and protective of. I do suspect that over time, you may get some natural recolonization back into the channel. Your water depths are well within the light requirements of this species, but it's a 100-foot channel and it's going to be slow. I think, people have measured recovery rates around like the conservation moorings in Manchester, and that was about 1 meter a year. So 100 feet is a long distance for a plant to travel over time. And so there'll definitely be a loss in ecosystem functions that is quote unquote temporary, but it's going to be a long temporary. It's not going to be a 2 or 3 year recovery period. It's going to be much longer. And finally, I would be really curious if I could get a copy of the 2 mapping reports. I assume there were reports that go with the maps that were done in 19 and 24.
Yep.
That would be very helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good questions. Thank you, Phil.
Thank
And
you.
I'm curious, under the heading of alternatives analysis, can you tell us what the alternative of leaving as is any area enclosed in the whole perimeter of dredging target that already meets the target depth, whether or not it meets the overdredge, the extra foot?
That's Bion. I would lean on you for that. I think if it would be navigable with the target depth rather than with the over depth, then
I think
really
that,
leave that up to the town.
yeah, I think I sure wouldn't push back against that argument at all. If we are at the so looking at the Proctor Cove and the area in the white, if I'm understanding correctly, that reaches, it's already at the 10.33.
Mhm.
I don't, or I'm sorry, the 8.33 or the 7.33.
7.3. Yeah.
Right. I don't know why we would need to invest to pay for that overburden of material. And let's just stick with dredging with what isn't at our depth.
Yes, and if I'm reading the channel mapping correctly on this, there is a fraction, I don't know how large it is, of the channel that's already at 10.3.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So, oh yeah.
So I guess the question is, how much work and cost as well as environmental impact would be saved if you followed that rule and did nothing in the areas that are already at the target 10.3 or 7.3 respectively.
I
Yeah,
think
there
that's,
would certainly be some, we would save some of the area and also, yeah, cost savings too as well.
And sealgrass. I mean,
And eelgrass, yeah.
Yeah,
I-
and eelgrass.
I mean, having watched this, I know that it's become a quite precise art with the instruments you use to geolocate, down to inches, where you are. But then I can imagine that there's some efficiency to just kind of ripping a channel down to 11.3 right straight through. Don't bother me with where we're at 10.5 or lower. So.
but just like clear cutting a forest, if you leave, some
Yeah.
plants there, it's going to repopulate a lot faster. And I think it's a great suggestion to, I mean, I don't think the average person would have thought that they would dredge it when it doesn't require it, but of course, so I do think we should follow that suggestion.
Ian, you have more to say, please?
well, I guess I would just say, when we look at the long-term need for dredging, this dredging will be needed in this harbor as long as the town wants to have mooring fields and recreational vessels moving in and out of it. And this kind of efficiency seems to me to make a lot of sense, given the ever-increasing costs and impacts to the environment. Let's do what needs to be done. Well, let's not do more.
Well said. I see also Ed Flamia's hand is up. Would you like to unmute, identify yourself and speak up?
Good evening. How are you? Edward Flamia and from 5 Proctor Street. I had a question. When was the last time the area over at there's a bridge on Beach Street in that area there? When was the last time that was dredged? And I couldn't really see from the plan you had, but is that in the scope this time?
That is not in the scope of this project. Beach Street's up here, right?
That's never been dredged. So that area was never dredged historically. First time the harbor was dredged was 1895, and the marsh where you are, Edward, and then over behind the Charterhouse were never dredged.
Is that something that we can look into? Because I've over where the bridge is on Beach Street, it seems, I've been there for, I don't know, since 2014. And it seems the last time, the last time the 2017, 18, I think they did some dredging, but it was not over that area like you just said, but it seems like it's always overlooked, but that's where the creek maybe goes in or out, wherever you want to say, to that area. But I'd like for someone to look into that.
So I think the permitting agencies, that would be considered improvement dredging and not maintenance dredging. And I can't speak for them, but I would be shocked if they ever permitted dredging over through the marsh. And that doesn't mean it shouldn't be investigated. I just don't want to have any expectations that are unlikely to be.
No false optimism about the
Yeah, no
permitting.
false optimism. Doesn't mean it shouldn't be pursued, but just agencies are not keen on improvement dredging like that.
Doesn't that provide the drainage for on the other side of Beach Street in that area there? That's where it flows through, right?
Yeah,
So the water
dredging-
flows through
dredging
underneath
would- But it wouldn't improve flooding on the other side, because when the water comes in, it's coming in, it's moving in and out already, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you, Mr. Flamia. Anyone else in the public have a question or comment? All right, well, let me ask directly, what alternatives were looked at here? I remember reading something about the difference between offshore disposal and on land disposal, and it mirrored what Nate had said earlier, the cost is prohibitive.
Yeah, and then other than that, doing like beneficial, reuse, for any sort of beach restoration, the sediment was not suitable for that. So, but that was the other disposal alternative that was looked into.
All right, well, this is really a policy question for the team there. Would you like the opportunity to develop, flesh out an alternative of leaving untouched the areas that are already at the target depths of 10.3 and 7.3? Or would you be amenable to, if we add that condition to that decision being made tonight? In other words, do you need to go back to the analysis and take a look at how that would affect your timing, your cost, etc.?
No, as long as Bion and Nate are good with it, we don't need to look back into do any analysis on that. As long as it's not deeper, then we're good to the 10 and the 7 feet.
A good point. I don't think I've heard an argument for deeper.
Steve,
Last round, commissioners, any other comments, or are you ready
Let's
to
just make sure
vote
that
on-
Dion and Nate are on board with that.
Steve, this is Bethany.
Yes,
Hello.
Bethany.
Just so you know, like before anything potentially closes out, there can't be any other new information reviewed. Just to like remind.
Right, which was why I was
Or
offering them
Yes.
the alternative of continuing and
I understand. Yes.
adding information for the next hearing. But good point. Henry, I think I heard Bion say that he was on board with that. Nate, what is your take on?
Yeah, I'm
that
generally
condition?
not opposed. I guess the only thing that jumped to my mind is like over time, you'll ultimately do more of the projects, because if you're not going to a lower depth, it'll
Gonna
fill in
shoal
quicker. Yeah, it'll shoal in quicker. So, you'll ultimately have to do a project sooner than you ultimately would have otherwise. What that timeline is, hard to say. And whether that, increased frequency, is a benefit or a detriment to the eelgrass, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's also hard to know whether at the 25 years ago, whether the dredging took everything here down to 11.3 and everything silted back in, or whether the areas that are already at 10.3 or deeper, just don't hold sediment because of the way the currents work or something else. It's beyond our pay grade, I'm afraid. All right, commission ready to vote on closing?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, let's hear a motion.
I'll make a motion. We close the hearing. I don't see a DEP number. It's the Manchester Harbor entrance channel and mooring basin at Proctor Cove maintenance dredging.
Second.
You have a number. I have a number. Hold on. You need a number to close.
39-940.
Yeah.
Yeah, 39-940. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Olga?
Aye.
Gordon? David?
Aye.
Sorry.
Jim?
Aye.
Come back to Gordon.
Aye.
Thank you. Henry?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So it is 6 in favor of closing the hearing. Thank you. Team, Nate, Bion.
Thank you all.
One and all.
And Phil, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, I'm furloughed. I had nothing else to do.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yes. We will not pursue that tonight. That concludes the two notices of intent. There are no applications for RDAs.
No.
So we can move to discussion of orders of condition.
Yeah, I
for,
have the special conditions for that project, like a draft.
Okay. Would you like to put them up on the screen?
Yeah, I'll screen share it. Just
Thank you.
uno momento, por favor. Does everyone see?
Yes.
Yes.
This is for the conditions for the Manchester dredging project. And I included all the numbers of the one area in Proctor Cove and the two areas of the entrance channel to a depth of like 10.33, which includes the 1 foot allowable over dredge.
Mhm.
And this is like the numbers that are provided during the permit, so we'll just go to the special
Good. It
conditions.
seems to me that at least those two issues are what we need to discuss. One is this, the idea of over dredge, where we're already at the target depths. And the second is what to do about restoration or even reestablishment of eelgrass. And there may be others.
I think the other that Phil talked about was a post-construction survey to determine slope after the work.
Right.
What is that? What does that get us? I mean, it's more information, but it's also raises the cost probably.
It does. It would simply tell us how much beyond the 100-foot we see on the plans it has permanently impacted, relatively permanently impacted the sea bottom.
So do you want me to add anything to this
Yes.
project?
It seems
Okay.
seems to me the more
Right.
pertinent question is, do we approve the 3-to-1 slope ratio for the edges?
Here.
Right.
This is the slope ratio right here.
Yeah.
Mentioned.
Or do we have any argument for a shallower slope?
I think it would automatically go to shallower just as it exists. So you start at a maximum desirable slope and then it'll just slump in. But
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, at least on all the areas we're talking about for the channel. Brian, I mean, you've run underwater cameras there. My impression from, being out on the water at dead low tides is that it is a pretty steep slope where the channel cuts in. May not be 3-to-1, but it's not, it hasn't smoothed out into a nice long. Do you have an opinion about that, Brian? Or did you?
Anything?
Did we may have lost it. All right. So
Steve?
yeah, that's another issue. Let's
So-
take these one at a time. So the condition, do you have a language for the condition about eelgrass, or shall we make one up?
We can make
I'm
one
not
up.
100% certain that we should try to do these three things tonight.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can ask, like, because it's the town. We'll just have to
Mm-hmm.
ask Nate permission to like
To do it at our next meeting, which will be 22 days.
to extend the
from now.
21 days, because the 21st day would be like, or 20, it will be 22 days since we'll see each other next.
Yeah, let's try. and
Yeah, that's
extend
fine.
them, because
yeah, I
this is
think
for
that's the way to go, would be to
next year.
Because
present
this
No
one's
problem
very
with that.
particular. Yeah.
All right, done and dusted then. We have closed the hearing and we will work
Thank you, Nate.
furiously offline. Thank
You're
you, Nate.
welcome. Thank you all.
And we can move to minutes for review, of which there are none yet, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am helping the new land use clerk and Gail with the minutes and try to like help her like learn how to do them. So for the November meeting, yay.
Thank you. Yeah, there'll be a small flood of minutes
Yes.
arriving at some point.
Yes.
Bedtime reading.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's move to new other
Mhm.
business. I have some items here. Tell me what else I should add. One is it's on the agenda, 7 Central Street updates. Another is dumpster overflowing at 18 School Street. Another is the Gordon Woods, so-called.
Mhm.
Another is the Ocean Street vulnerability assessment. Anybody have other items to add to that list before we start?
Nope.
Nothing about beavers? Yay.
They just update about the beavers actually.
Okay, that's on the agenda. Then
Yes.
don't
Okay.
hang on. Let's start with 7 Central Street because I know we have several people here
Waiting,
to
yeah.
to help us with that. Bethany and I received an email from Mike DeRosa,
He
and I
came
guess
in
Bethany,
today.
you can talk about that because you actually met with him.
Mhm.
Can you bring
Right
us up
when
to
I
date?
was about to leave, he came today. He came in and caught me when one foot out the door. He told me that he was brought in to help with 7 Central Street. I told him about the timeline of like all like the details of like coming up to today. And he says that he was willing to do like the notice of intent for 7 Central Street, but he'll obviously will need more time. He couldn't get the materials today and will probably be ready for the December meeting. And that they are planning to do an RDA for the dumpster on a different project for 6 Schools Street.
Anyone else have comments or questions about that?
Sorry, Bethany, for the same
Mhm.
dumpster, but a
It's
different.
like the dumpster that was like discovered. It's for a separate project, and they're going to file like a RDA for that dumpster. But it's a different project from 7 Central Street to be proactive about this dumpster.
I guess I have a question for the chair, which is, Steve, is the dumpster and the heavy machinery that's parked next to the firehouse under the current cease and desist order?
I would say yes, Henry, to the extent that it's in a resource area or buffer zone, which it is, and the same owner, same potential applicant is involved. It's just happened to be neighboring properties. It also seems to me that Mike's solution, which is to have a separate RDA for it with proper erosion controls and other conditions, removes it from the cease and desist,
Yep.
which will be
Okay,
good.
thanks.
I see, Mr. Flamia, you have your hand up, and even though we're not in public hearing, seems to me appropriate, you should speak up. Go ahead.
Good evening again. It's Edward Flamia. I live here in Manchester, as you know. The applicant here, the owner of 7 Central, spoke many times. I want to just take a step back a little bit for the 7 Central project. We're not altering at all the outside of 7 Central at all. I feel like, I just want to make a very clear comment that I feel like I'm getting very pressured. I've never spoke with this Mike DeRosa. So this comment this evening of Mike DeRosa, I've never spoke with. I am the owner of 7 Central. I've never spoke with Mike DeRosa. So I want to be clear with that. The second is, if we're not altering the outside at all, or going above the, beyond the footprint, why am I have to file this notice of intent if I'm not touching the outside grounds? That's where the confusion's coming in, and I've been bombarded with so many emails and text messages, and it's getting to a point, it's getting a little bit frustrated. I even asked my attorney to come on this evening, Adam Zager, but I wanted, I'm here in the town, I've committed myself to the town, I'm always available, but it's getting to be a little bit frustrating when behind our project, we're not altering at all the grounds. And I know the commission has approved to do some work on the river back, whatever that's for the last few years, and you're waiting for grants or things like that. But I just want to be very clear with what's happening and the pressure I'm feeling from the Conservation Commission.
I think we appreciate and understand it. But we also need you to understand that anything you do in the riverfront or in the buffer zone requires permission. That includes parking materials, putting a dumpster, resurfacing the area, moving a wall, installing a small staircase, which I think, to be fair, are all things that have transpired in the last 6 or 8 months at 7 Central. And those are the things that normally always would require legally a permit from the Conservation Commission under the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw. But you neglected to do that for whatever reasons. And we have been, I would say, politely trying to remind you and your team that that's a requirement. You completed all the exterior work without any permits. We're not sure what actually transpired behind the building. We're making an assumption that it wasn't a dangerous impact to the wetland, but we just don't know. That's why we have permits. Your neighboring properties, the ones that to the left of 7 Central, have come to us several times for simply changing the walls behind the stone walls and the parking area behind their building. Again, no new construction, but it is work within a protected resource and it requires a permit. We're not asking you to do anything we would not require of every other property owner in Manchester. And when you resist that, it becomes frustrating on our end. I hope you understand that.
I mean, to a certain degree, I should say that I really don't understand. I mean, I'm not an argument type, but if I'm not touching the ground behind my property at 7 Central, I'm talking specifically 7 Central, what type of notice of intent should I file? If I'm not touching it all, should I write in a notice of intent I'm not touching it all? Or, and again, it's just not to be back and forth argumentative. I have switched contractors. I agree with you. There was material that was put on pallets in the back, but since there has been absolutely no movement, probably for about 20-something days now, I actually had one of the persons from the commission actually walk behind there, looked, they verified, they said, Edward, absolutely correct. There was no movement at all here. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more questioned, more emailed, more discussion on a subject that I think, I don't know what type of notice to intend to file if I'm not altering the resource area at all. But
what we've asked for and what we expect is something called an after the fact notice of intent. It is for people who neglected to file timely before they took action, which might well have had a dangerous or negative impact to the resource. We don't know. We haven't had a chance to permit it, condition it, and then, observe. I assume you would be 100% in compliance, but all of that didn't happen. So we have a procedure called after the fact notice of intent. I think this has been explained to your representative, Ms. Cacelli, several times. And that's what we're asking for in this case. We're assuming that you're correct, that you're not going to do a stitch of work or park a single vehicle or put another dumpster behind 7 Central, because it looks like the work is substantially complete, except for whatever you're doing inside. But an after the fact NOI is still required.
Just the last question, when you say parking vehicles, we have no vehicles parking there, and I made the comment, the fire department has in their signs that are there, that's not my property at all. That is not my property. They have signs there that says fire department parking only. And then also on Sundays, the local church parks their cars, I can't control what someone else does. That is not my property against the water, as you know. That's the town's property, and that's, so that's up to the town to, I guess, patrol or whatever, but that is not my vehicles that are parking there at all. I just want to be clear. So some people think that's mine because it's behind the building. That is not my cars and it's not my property. The fire department uses that in the local church on Sundays or Saturdays events. I just, sometimes, okay.
Steve, if I may, for a second.
Yes, I just want to say I appreciate
I
you
think-
coming and pleading your case. Thank you for doing it. Go ahead, Olga.
I think that anybody that is near a resource that is protected by the Wetlands Protection Act has to have certain permitting, a notice of intent or a request for determination of applicability. It's permitting if you are near a resource area. Because you didn't do it or didn't know to do it with 7 Central, now it's crazy because it's after the fact and you're saying to yourself, what the heck, why do I have to do this now? It's because you didn't have it, and we have to have it as part of our record on any property that is near a resource that is under our jurisdiction. So because it wasn't done before, it seems frustrating to you now. So that's where we are.
Adam Zager, I'm going to let you speak as well.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean, Edward asked me to step up here tonight and to look at this, and I think part of the issue and the confusion is that what's the project at 7 Central is, the same type of renovation that happened at 11 Central, happened at 2 School Street. There was never any Conservation Commission requirement for those projects, and so here, I mean, I've heard what you said about anything in the resource area requires a permit or an order of conditions or a notice of intent. That's not really true. It's when you are altering a resource area, and at least the work that is being done, there's no intent to touch or affect the resource area in any way. I mean, at this point, it's a internal renovation. No orders of condition have ever been required for any of the properties on the block. And it strikes me as arbitrary that one is,
That is not true.
how this has come up for this one.
That is not true. Just exactly what I cited before. But I didn't really intend to argue with you.
What are you
Thank you for
looking
speaking
for
up.
a notice of I mean, this project was before the ZBA or the planning board recently to get the approval for the new configuration of the residential units. I mean, I don't recall that there was any kind of issue raised about a order of conditions at that time. I mean, surely you must have been contacted as part of that filing. When did this all come up, and what are you looking for? Because it would be, I think,
If I
if
may,
anything, it would be a request for determination of non-applicability. But usually you're doing that to determine whether you're in a resource area or not when you're essentially doing work that is going to have no alteration on the resource.
With all respect, the decision about whether a project has impact, whether it alters, is ours, not yours. And that's why we ask people who are doing any work proximate to a resource or in the resource, as you are in this case, to come talk to us. We have a professional who's in the office 2 days a week and available the rest of the time, who can say, likely, here's what you need to do. And if you disagree, then you can get another expert to the table. None of that happened in this case. And if we want to go back to where this began, it began when this property, this owner, demoed a small portion of the building that's out on the street, that's now paved patio. Believe it or not, that's an alteration within a resource area, the riverfront. And anybody else who's done it.
Yeah, but that
whether they
project has
live
been,
on-
that project was closed out long ago, though. And that was prior to the special permit filing. And
Yes,
I mean,
but you're asking me where this began. It first came to our attention that renovations were being done that altered the stormwater conditions, that altered the extent of pervious surfaces, that all the kinds of things that we exist to keep under control and to monitor and to condition. We don't stop them. We wouldn't have stopped any of these projects, in my opinion. In fact, filing would have been quite straightforward. This is not a complicated
but
environmental
why wasn't it?
situation.
Why didn't this come up for 2 School Street or 11th? They're the same block, and it's.
I don't know. I'll have to look at research and see why that did. But I can tell you that the construction that's going on Brook Street, even the re-shingling of a roof on Brook Street in the last 10 years required an NOI because of the proximity to Sawmill Brook. And it was a good thing they had an NOI because they had a terrific storm in the middle of it, and they had the conditions required elements that would catch all of the stuff that fell off the roof that shouldn't go into the brook.
And did you require, were you requiring, just so I'm clear, were you requiring that under the local bylaw, or were you trying to require that under the Wetlands
I'll
Protection?
have to go
Act?
back and do some research. It was some time ago, but I'm making the point that any other property owner, every property owner that has that proximity to a protected resource under the Wetlands Protection Act for riverfront or in the buffer zone for our local bylaw comes to us, and we have a determination, either a letter permit or either nothing, go ahead, this sounds fine to us, or a letter permit or an RDA or an NOI. We have all of these things in place in order to do our job.
Right, but
We're
they
not
haven't been put
asking-
in place before for this block, so that's what's
We're not
created.
asking Mr.
some-
Flammia to do anything that in my 12 years on the commission, we have not asked of everyone on that block and everyone up School Street, everyone on Vine, everyone on Brook, everyone.
But
And
where
when
is the trigger? At what point, if you're doing renovation that is not, you're not intending to touch the ground, do you
tell
have
us what you
to?
did. The backside of that building has been altered. I don't know whether it's a staircase or a change in the concrete platform. The work looks very well done. The pavement in the back has been
footprint hasn't
changed.
changed. I mean, the footprint hasn't changed. I mean, there've been slight volume increases on one side, but it's not, there's been no, in this project that was recently
not here-
permitted, there's no effect and no alteration of the resource area, which is why, consistent with the prior ones, I think the owner just assumed they wouldn't need to file.
Despite all your assertions, bring us the engineered plans, bring us the wetland delineations, and we will make a determination whether or not you need.
I mean, we're not gonna file. I mean, we're not gonna bring you wetlands. We all know where the wetland is here. It's
Okay. I'm not saying you have to hire a professional to flag them. You have to bring us a plan for your work that shows the relevant.
these plans were
wetland
submitted
delineations.
to you in connection with the special permit process that already
Not
happened.
submitted. The
Where were
Conservation
you?
Commission has. We don't receive everything that comes to the rest of town. We get notifications from the building department when a project appears to be
You filed
in
9
jurisdiction.
copies with the ZBA and they go to the various town boards and commissions, and I just find it hard to believe this is coming up now.
Steve,
I'm gonna stop this discussion because I don't think we're going anywhere. You're just resisting something which the rest of the commission is behind me in unanimously.
I have a
asserting
quick
that
question.
This
All
is the
right,
right approach.
I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. So listen,
Steve,
I have a question.
think
I'm
no
really-
more
I'm really
comment
gonna-
is appropriate.
I'm not commenting on this, sure. So I have a quick question.
With all
Another
respect,
com-
I am gonna stop this discussion at
No,
this point.
this is not
It
for Seven
productive.
Central. This is not for Seven Central. Just give me one moment, please. I've received an email saying it was 200 feet. Has the museum filed? The museum's doing under construction. They have a dumpster that's 170 feet from the water. Has they filed?
I have no idea.
Okay, so that's my point. We have 170 feet. It's from the water, but they have not filed for permits. They have a dumpster on the site, but I get.
Have they consulted with Bethany Barstow? Can you assert
I
that
just
they
a-
haven't?
I
Have
just
they
asked that,
asked and-
and someone's. Okay, so maybe you can answer
Not
that.
relevant to this case.
Yeah,
But
and
but it
frankly,
is
failure
relevant.
to prosecute a crime does not make it
Oh,
not a crime. Sorry, failure to apply a regulatory standard through whatever happened, if what your facts are correct, does not immunize everybody else.
But
You can't say, well, they're
applicants
not
are
doing it,
entitled
I don't
to
have to.
consistent and
The rules are
non-arbitrary
the
and
rules.
capricious decisions
We're
that are.
trying our hardest to be consistent. That's why we're doing this with
but
you
that's what
guys.
my.
It's not what you've
Sure,
done
but
for
that's
the
Holding
rest
you
of
to
the
the
block.
same standards as everyone else.
that's so
Folks,
that
I'm
is my.
gonna mute you
that,
guys. I hate to
why are you
do
gonna
this
mute?
to
Why
you,
would you
but
mute me? Why would you
we
mute me?
are
It's just a
not
quick
in
question.
public hearing any longer, and the purpose of this
But-
meeting is not to have a debate on this
No,
subject.
no, it's just a question. As a concerned resident, has the museum filed? They have a dumpster on site. It's 170 feet from the waterway. They have
Mr.
not.
Flamia, that is not the point. Your
what-
project, we requested a notice of intent. You didn't do a notice of intent. We're now giving you the opportunity to do an after-the-fact notice of intent.
Okay, so when would you
So-
like me to file the after effect notice of intent by?
Well,
We
you promised
wanted
it
it 2 weeks ago.
But I did file,
Thursday.
and then I did file, I sent it by email and it was rejected. So that's why I'm
It was
asking, what
not
would
a
you like me
notice,
to do?
it was not
It
a
was
notice of intent.
incomplete.
Okay, so when would you like, let's,
I mean,
today, when would you like me to start it by?
Well, stop. What we should be, I mean, if anything is going to be filed, it would be a
Folks.
request for a determination of non-applicability.
No,
Folks, we're done.
you need
We're
a
done.
notice of intent.
We disagree.
That's too bad.
Well, then-
We are the regulatory agency, Mr. Zager, and I really disagree with you. We
Well,
require.
but your authority is limited by the bylaw.
We require a notice of intent on this property.
Okay, sure, I, listen, I don't want to argue with anyone, but I will file a notice of
Pick it
intent
up.
that you're asking, I will file a notice of intent. I will file a notice of intent. I just want to make one more comment. When the fire department had a dumpster for 3 weeks on site here, and I notified Mark Resnick, I've never received an email back. When I ask for confirmation, if I ask for something and I don't have any response back, why?
I have no
Any
idea.
conservation
Mark-
questions, please email me because
You-
I'm the
you-
conservation
Sure,
agent.
but you were not, I don't think you were there in June and July and August of this year unless
I
I.
am,
Okay.
I am.
Oh,
So
okay.
please contact
sure.
me for any conservation
Okay, I will
questions because
forward,
I don't receive emails
Sure.
from you.
I will forward the email forwarded to Mark, I sent to Mark Resnick asking that back in June, July, and August, and I did not receive a response. That's all I'm asking. I want to be consistent. If someone else is doing work.
Let me,
with-
Mr. Flamia, again, when the fire department has
Mm-hmm.
done projects like when they did, I don't know what it was, the AC unit and everything, they filed a permit
Yes,
with
for their
us.
generator, for their
The
AC. Yep.
generator, yes,
Right.
they filed with us.
Just please contact me for any conservation questions and I will answer you.
Okay, and please don't, and you had mentioned some gentleman, DeRosa spoke with you about me. I don't know a DeRosa. I do not know a DeRosa. Never spoke with a
should check
DeRosa.
'cause
And
John Harden obviously knows him,
Yeah.
and he said he's representing John Harden and you. Not
I'm
our,
just-
that's not our responsibility. That's yours. You go figure that out.
well, I will, no, I know, I understand that, but when someone's telling
I
me.
have to
that-
say, my
Wow.
team here, with the exception of Bethany, is all volunteers. And we don't sign up for this kind of antagonistic, oppositional argument at the end of our meeting. So with all due respect, the next time we talk, let's keep it gentler, kinder, and quieter.
Do you know I received an
Let's-
email from Bethany
Steve,
asking me
would
to
you
remove the fire
please
department?
mute the applicants and their representative?
Just ask.
I hate to do this, but I am. Let's move on to 18
Thank
School
you.
Street. This is a case of a dumpster in Riverfront on School Street, which we are pursuing because one member of the commission noticed material blowing out of the dumpster. and falling in Sawmill Brook. Bethany, have you had a chance to look at that site?
I was not able to look at it today, unfortunately.
Well, we need to find out what's going on
Okay.
there because just as with this case, consistency is important.
Yes, I will go there Thursday.
Good. Gordon Woods. I had a chance to speak to the head of Gordon College last week, and he understands the town's, our part of the town's desire to protect our watershed and the wetland resources on their property. But he's prefers to wait for their developer to complete the civil engineering and to have a more specific plan in hand before he gets into any negotiation about that. So he had nothing to offer to us, except that he did point out that they're quite proud of their environmental scientist and that part of the biology department, and reminded me that they have a pretty eminent environmental PhD there named Dorothy Bourse. And it turns out they also have a microbiologist they're very proud of, who claims to have discovered a unique microorganism in that living laboratory, if you like, called the Gordon Woods. So one possibility here, if the college is amenable, is to invite one or both of them to come talk to us about what they're doing. And I would describe that as building a bridge between Manchester and our conservation efforts of this commission and of the open space group and of lots of land trust and other folks, and the college, which doesn't really exist today. So as soon as we hear back from the college, I'll bring a more specific proposal to try to do that under the auspices of the Concom and open space and anybody else in town who wants to co-sponsor.
Okay.
Best I can come up with so far.
So Steve, may I say something about what just transpired? Because we're all here on the commission.
Sure.
I would just like to say, I don't know if there's any written material that can be handed to someone to, when they need to do permitting. This is why you need to do, this is how the Conservation Commission operates. These are jurisdictional areas. I don't know if there's material like that. I remember chairing about 20 years ago, and Jim Brady was just screaming at me, it's his property and who am I to tell him what to do? So, I mean, this was tame compared to what went on that time. So we need to be able to respond to someone who doesn't seem to want to understand why they're in a jurisdictional area and this is how the process goes. So we need to see if they, or get, what's her face? Alicia might have something that she can get to us. Bethany.
We do have lots of material about jurisdiction and what to expect and what to do, but it obviously isn't sufficient. And you're echoing something that Tony Barletta said 10 days ago after looking at this situation, which is, wouldn't it be smart to have an easy way for people to understand why they should come to the Conservation Commission early in the process before they get, down the road and have all this dust in the air, so to speak.
So
I like
you're
that.
suggesting like a handout, a little
Yeah.
brief of
Like pamphlet?
discussion of what the
Tony
requirements
had in
are?
mind a checklist, which might comprise more than conservation. It could say, here are the things that might trigger a need to go to the planning or ZBA.
Well, for instance, if something goes before the building inspector, they know if it's in one of our jurisdictional areas. Why aren't we notified, like right at the
We
beginning?
are,
We are?
but like Mark also can has access to like concert because he's a land use director. And I think like there was like miscommunication there because I'm only there 2 days a week with this project because yeah.
So we should just jump in right at the beginning of a project and if we're alerted and say, do you know you're in a jurisdictional area? Some kind of simple thing, because people
Yeah.
that don't want to hear that they're gonna have restrictions on them, they don't want to hear it, so we
Well, do
need
you
to.
know what? People who don't want to file, they're not going to file.
Well, then it's up to us to fight it, but at least we've
Yeah, I
alerted
understand
them.
that. That's what we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah, but we got on late on this one,
Yeah,
when
that's
they
our
were.
fault.
Yeah. Olga, with due respect, we came down with all the information that this owner needed
Yeah.
when that first little bit of demolition was done right on School Street. He
Yeah.
said, gee, what are you doing here? Do you have a permit? Why is there heavy equipment moving
So we
debris
did,
around?
yeah. So there
So
are
he
plenty
was-
of
I-
I
opportunities.
just didn't want to hear that they were covered.
It's to Henry's point. It's much easier to beg for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Well,
Yeah.
what I don't understand is if you get a certificate of occupancy, I assume you've gotten the sign off from the Board of Health and the building inspector, and those things wouldn't have happened if you didn't have proper zoning. And it just seems to me that rather than go down the path of fines for noncompliance, that it should be having all of your documentation that the town requires as part of getting a certificate of occupancy. And that should be, a change to how we oversee. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
people can
That's
just
not a crazy idea.
arbitrarily ignore the rules. And then you're not really ignoring the rules because you fall foul of state rules, and then Manchester gets sideways with the state.
The board needs to, all the boards, like in the departments, need better communication and collaboration. Yes.
Yeah, because it's really uncomfortable to be put into these situations.
Yeah.
No kidding. Henry,
I
your hand
needed
is
to
up.
jump in, Steve, because I absolutely wasn't gonna let you be the one taking the brunt.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Henry, what's up?
Curious as to whether we're going to discuss enforcement orders or fines for 7 Central.
I'm gonna have to ask Alicia or the DEP for advice on that.
Good idea.
For what?
For advice on how to handle like
Elisa
fines and
Gillen.
stuff like that.
Okay, my
Yeah, the
question is to
DEP
Steve,
representative.
actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Henry.
I'm prepared to discuss it. Are you aware of a violation? Are you talking about the empty dumpster on parking lot by the Kraft building?
I'm talking about both the dumpster and the heavy machinery.
What is the
Okay.
heavy machinery
It's a travel lift, right? It's a little tractor item with a small crane and a platform on top of the crane.
Steve, can I say something? Is it reasonable to ask a developer who is developing the most extensive project in Manchester outside the schools, in my memory, to list every little item that may be a possible violation of the Wetlands Act or the proximity to Sawmill Brook? I think it might be an endless list, Steve.
What do you mean,
Tell me,
David? What do
if he
we?
has a temporary dumpster there, it's part of the
The
development
notice of
project.
intent, David, isn't for just a dumpster. It's for previous work that was done. We need a record.
Yeah,
That
but have
I
you been
agree
at the last
100%.
years worth of meetings?
Oh,
You know this
I
started in
agree.
2024?
Well, I agree. He does need to file the appropriate paperwork.
Thank you.
But however, Henry, I think to consider fining a person because of an illegal dumpster or because a lift is not listed on that form is inappropriate.
We don't have a form that they didn't list things on. We have a
don't
need
know
to
what you're
protect the
talking about.
resource. If you have a dumpster leaking construction debris, who knows what, from insulation, from shingles, from floorboards, from wallboard, from whatever, without any containment, we need to tell you to stop. That's our job.
So
This
once
case is a
form, I
little,
assume this form is going to be coming in from them very soon. But if it does not list every.
Nothing's going to be coming in soon.
Yeah,
nothing
why
has
would
come
you
in from
assume
them,
that?
David.
What are you
The
talking?
applicant was on the phone at one point on
I'm
one of
worried.
these calls telling us he agreed with filing and would be filing shortly, and that was about 6 months ago.
At our last meeting, his representative said, you know, stop your griping. We're going to file a notice of intent. We'll have it by Friday. This was Tuesday night. And
Thursday.
Bethany
Yay.
said, we're not open on Friday. She said, fine, I'll have it Thursday by close of business. Didn't happen. On Friday, we got made up an invented one-page form that from Ed Flamia that said, this is an application for an RDA. It wasn't a valid application for an RDA. Those forms come from the Mass DEP and everybody fills them out. So we didn't have anything at that point. And that's when we went from just worried about it to frustrated. So both sides of this equation are frustrated, and the easy thing to do would be to stop arguing, file the NOI. As I said, this is not complicated environmental wetlands situation. There's not going to be extensive restoration or mitigation or other kinds of complicated things that we've dealt with on other projects. And for the record, this is a big project, but I think the project going on at the end of Smith's Point is probably 5 times the scale and budget of this, and it's on coastal resource as well. So, I mean, this one happens to be very visible. It's right in the center of downtown, and it's being exquisitely done. No, but none of us, I think, would complain about the end result. We just don't find the process meeting the minimum standards of wetlands protection.
I think it's really no different when you're in a resource area than it is that you need a building permit. If you're in a resource area, you need a notice of intent or an RDA. It's
Right,
just
and you
the same thing.
can come in and say it's an RDA because there's no impact, there's no alteration.
That's up
And
to
if
us.
we agree, fine, Bob's your
Yeah.
uncle, you're done. If we say, no, actually, you're wrong, having a dumpster there, even with erosion control, runs the risk. So would you please file an NOI? And in 99 cases out of 100, people say, okay, well, I wanted to try the RDA, now I'll file the NOI. Which
Well,
is
it's
more,
not, yeah, Steve, it's not just the dumpster. They did an entire demolition of the back of the building. So there's
True.
material
and the
flying.
roof, and yeah. Well, and we're not, to this day, we're not sure exactly what they did or what impact it might have had on the back. That's why we need an after the fact filing.
Yeah.
But back to Henry's question, which is the pertinent one, which is, do we need to do anything to enforce the protection of that brook against any dumpster? But there happens to be one in the Kraft parking lot. I couldn't see inside it from driving past on School Street, but it doesn't look like it's in use yet. Is that true? Henry, have you seen?
I have no idea.
On the other
Okay.
hand, it could be as simple in a parking lot like that to require to put some kind of erosion control stuff. So if something does happen to the dumpster and it leaks, it's collected. And so I
Well,
think
yeah, we
it's
could-
more an attitudinal thing is
We
like,
could require that, but somebody has to apply for a permit for us to have that
exactly.
requirement.
Yeah,
We can't, all we can do right now is an order for cease and desist, stop impacting the resource, and enforcement for non-compliance with that order.
What I heard is that he had no real intention of complying with the order, and his attorney seemed to say it's not required, and you're requiring these things arbitrarily. You know, they made doublespeak and said, maybe we'll submit, but we've heard that. I've been the newest person, but I've heard this 3 times. So I would back, you have to enforce this stuff. It's not possible to think they didn't understand they were subject to the Conservation Commission, given where these properties are and his experience as a developer. It's not reasonable.
I agree, Jim.
I agree, Jim.
All right,
I agree.
I'll hear a motion about enforcement orders.
I'll move, we proceed with an enforcement order on 7 Central.
Second.
Okay. And it'll be to effectuate the cease and desist order. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Good, and I am an aye. Just one footnote, I've gotten a couple of calls, one of them this afternoon, from people I know asking if the Concom is forcing the 7 Central project to shut down. And I've taken care to advise them that all we're trying to do is to protect the wetland resource and to get them to stop anything that would directly impact the resource. So wallpaper and interior work, no, go ahead, keep doing it. But don't park and use a dumpster in the resource area without a permit. Don't stockpile materials in the resource area without a permit. Don't change the surface to whatever it is. It's much more attractive than it used to be, but I have no idea what it actually is. Is it pervious? Is it semi-pervious, etc.? So don't do any of those things, and that's what the enforcement order will include. Any other comments? Thanks. We've been notified that Chuck Dam has commissioned a consultant to do a vulnerability assessment of Ocean Street. Specifically because it's requires so much maintenance and repair after each winter storms, and then sometimes summer storms. So that apparently is underway and is going to happen. And a centerpiece of it is, as I understand it, a big public get together for several days, including what they call a workshop and a charrette. Architect speak, I think. And then a recommendation about what will be the best solution for sustainability of that piece of town property, including its use as a road, as a walkway, as a parking area, as a recreational area, as a beachfront, etc. And I can't help but point out that we had a grant in the last 10 years negotiated, obtained by Mary Riley, to do pretty much that and look at, what would be the best solution long-term for both White Beach and Black Beach.
And it was for $250,000 and it got turned down.
Yes, it was turned down because the neighbors believed that if we study it, we're going to change it, and they don't want it changed. So good on Chuck Dam for doing it, but what a shame that we have to spend our tax dollars instead of grant money.
Yeah.
Which brings us to beavers. What's the news on beavers?
Let me pull it up. I don't know if you recall, but you guys probably do, about the payment you guys approved on Old School Road to replace the flow devices on Old School Road.
On the
Well, they
culverts, yeah,
just they replaced the third Keystone fence from the gate on Old School Road a few weeks ago, and it went well. And they took the materials away from the site to dispose of it, and they think that everything should be okay until next spring. And they were happy to help.
Wonderful.
Where's the bad news? Bethany?
No bad news there.
Okay, well, thank you.
It went
If the
well,
Be-
they said.
If the beavers are happy, we can be happy.
Sorry, Bethany, I missed the first part. Who did the removal?
Beaver Solutions.
Beaver Solutions. Okay.
Yeah, it
Yes, you
was
guys approved a
Callahan and
bill a
Egan.
couple,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
a month or two ago.
Right. Great.
And did they tackle the one that's underneath the boardwalk, or were they just doing the ones on the Old School Street?
I think they just did the ones on Old School.
Okay.
And they're happy to
Fingers
help with
real.
any beaver needs. That's what they said.
Okay.
Thank you, Beth.
I have nothing else on the agenda. I do notice that we have our town administrator on here, and if you've been paying attention and have any comments for us, Mr. Barletta, be happy to give you the microphone. Or not if you're putting a child to bed, as he probably is.
No,
I've been paying attention, just paying attention, that's all.
Good, we appreciate that. All right, folks, thanks for hanging in there. If there's nothing else.
Steve, can I do like 2 seconds on Harbor Planning Task Force?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
on the
please.
agenda.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys,
Excellent.
I'm a member, the Concom rep for Harbor Planning Task Force, and we've been meeting for between 1.5 years and 2 years to put together a harbor plan that's supposed to take us into 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 years out. And we work with a consultant group. It's called UHI, Urban Harbors Institute. They're out of Boston. And everything's going well, and we're very close to a draft plan. A couple things that are going on before the Concom sees anything are that we're going to share it with the Harbor Advisory Committee. We're presenting at their next meeting, which is I think sometime in November. And I think after that, the document will be available for us. We can comment on any part of it. There's a water quality portion and a natural resource portion that I've been involved with. That's just like the most recent update. Does anybody have questions about that?
No, thanks for hanging with them.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll keep you posted.
Good. All right, Olga, I think we've earned that.
Right. I move
motion.
that we adjourn.
Second.
You're moved and seconded. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you, and breathe.
And we'll breathe, and we'll be talking about conditions for the dredging.
The
by,
eel, save
email.
the eel grass, yes.
Yeah.
That is what's behind you, right? That's Zoystra.
That looks like it.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Bethany.